Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Alex, and I'm the Senior Director of Operations for the Sexual Health Alliance. Today, I'm joined by licensed clinical therapist and adult performer Jasmine Johnson for Shaw's 5 Minutes of Fame interview. Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Yes, so I have been a licensed clinical therapist for it's going on about 16 years. I have quite a bit of experience working with intimacy for caregivers, intimacy post-illness and post-injury. A great chunk of my work has been working with veterans, older adult couples, sex workers, and folks that have experienced complex trauma. So it's quite an array. But I love that aspect of therapy is that I have an opportunity to meet, work with, and really see people through some really challenging times at different stages of their life. So I am also the owner of Blue Pearl Therapy, and I offer virtual therapeutic services. And when I am not providing therapeutic services, I am also a sex worker. I do sex entertainment and education at Jet Setting Jasmine and Royal Fetish Films.
Sounds like you have a lot of really interesting things going on.
Lots of interesting stuff is always happening over here in my parts of the world.
Amazing. So what is some bad advice that you have heard people in your field give out, both as a therapist and a performer?
Wow. Well, there's lots of opinions for sure. Some of the things I hear a lot of re-traumatization happening in both of our fields because, I think, well, obviously people come to therapy because they want to be able to process, they want to, do some healing, they want to move their lives forward in the way that they see fit. And oftentimes people come to my therapy practice sharing that they have just had a terrible experience with another therapist, really putting their judgment, their opinion, their standards for their quality of life onto what is then becomes my client. And really helping people not only unpack like the judgments of the world and the judgments from maybe their own community, culture, or family, but now add a judgment from someone who is supposed to be non-judgmental in a safe space. I've had people tell me that therapists have told them that what they think is their relationship style is not their relationship style. What their sexual identity and orientation is only because they experienced some form of trauma. So lots of projection. And I see the same thing in the sex industry where, people aren't seen for their full selves. People can't have a hard time even connecting with other sex workers because there's a narrow view that we even sometimes see ourselves. So through my work, I really am proud of helping people recognize their full selves and that they are the expert on them.
So it sounds like you're not the first person that a lot of people go to. You're like the better therapist that comes after that first bad experience.
I should like to think so. And I always leave that caveat that like, if I'm not, the best match for you, it's okay. Therapy should be more like shopping. It should be, all of our healthcare should really feel good to us. It shouldn't just be who is, first on the list. I know that finances, location, and insurance really does dictate where people, how people access services, but I really like to empower clients. And I think that goes over really well when I share with clients that it's okay if you and I are not a good match. I'm invested in you finding a therapist that is a good match for you. And that in itself allows them to feel like, I can disagree with my provider, or I can feel differently than my provider. Me being a professional doesn't mean that I work perfectly for you personally. And I think people can really, really, really do themselves a service if they empower themselves to make a choice that feels like a good fit and to walk out if you don't feel like you're being respected in any provider situation.
Yeah, I think that's so important. So many of us deal with bad providers in the medical setting, and I think we tolerate it too much.
Yeah, I agree.
So the Sexual Health Alliance, or SHAW, is centered around providing provocative dialogue and radical collaboration. What does radical collaboration look like to you, and what would you want others in your field to incorporate into their work?
So radical is what we're about to do in the next coming weeks, the next coming months. Like the future of jet setting Jasmine, Blue Pearl Therapy, and SHA to me is radical. Being able to be seen as both a therapist and a sex worker, and being seen as having valuable input to provide into the world of therapists and providers and people that are going to be in sex education it is really a radical concept. Oftentimes, sex workers are talked about for 15 minutes in one class that is being held in one semester of, undergrad or grad school, or, marginalized communities, whatever they may be, are, again, really relegated to that one paragraph in the book that you're reading from. And when we have like opportunities to have these kind of collaborations, when you're actually talking to and key is talking to, engaging with people who will eventually end up in your practice chair in one way or another. You will find yourself intersecting or interacting with a sex worker, and maybe you don't even know it, because you haven't made the space comfortable enough for them to bring their full self into therapy. And the same goes for a lot of different marginalized communities. Oftentimes we can only bring a portion of ourselves, which we feel is socially acceptable to our therapists, into our sessions. And so my goal is, by having these opportunities for therapists to actually interact, ask questions, see the value of our varied and quite rich experience with life as something beautiful, something that you want to explore as a population that you see no different from the population that you represent or that represents you. I think amazing things are going to happen, where people are going to get the care that they need. And even for professionally, when your client is showing up in their totality, you can actually get work done. You're actually working with the person that's in front of you, not the representative that they feel is necessary to bring to take care of you. So I'm excited about putting my full self out and bringing my friends along with me to share with these therapists, answer questions, share stories, hear about some of the work that sex workers are doing on behalf of therapists, because people don't feel comfortable talking to their therapists. That to me is radical change, and I'm so happy to be at the forefront of it with SHA.
I love that. And yeah, I think education is just so important in so many senses. I mean, in a lot of therapy graduate programs, you talk about sexuality for that one class, and that's all the education that some therapists get on that, unless they look for specialized training. So in conference with SHA on October 9th and 10th, can you talk a little bit more in detail of what you'll be going over and some of the topics you'll be covering?
Can. So this was just as much fun, as much as mind-blowing to pull together, because we're specifically talking about unconventional approaches in therapy. And in pulling this together, it's like, well, if it's unconventional, then you're going to have to think out of the box. But at the same time, being programmed, right? Like a conference should be about one specific topic and, we are really taking a mixed bag approach to this. We are going to be talking about everything from stereotypes for lovers, talking about unicorns. How often do people feel comfortable letting people know that they're a third in a couple? They're the third wheel, or they're a cuck in their relationship within their marriage. Like all of these nuances that we know people are experiencing. Honestly, if you just look at some of the porn statistics and you look at people's like fetishes and proclivities and lifestyle parties, I go to these swinger events and there's like thousands and thousands of couples. And I'm thinking, how many of these couples are bringing this setting and this part of their life into their healthcare? Most aren't. So we're really going to be talking about how there's so much more to explore with your clients and learning more about what those lifestyles are like and what are some of the challenges and some of the beauty of it also. We are going to be hearing from a fantastic HIV activist, Tiffany Marrero, on undetectable punani. So what is it like dating as an HIV positive person? How many times have therapists wagged their finger and told you how to be safe, but not really shared with you how to have a good quality of life? So I'm so excited. We're going to be hearing from attorneys, sex positive attorneys, and healthcare providers to share what are some of the challenges with things like advanced directives, how the medical system has not caught up with our culture, and how we can be preparing our clients for those type of challenges. It's really going to be something. We're doing decolonization of sex, and we're also going to be looking at music, where kink and sex and alternative and unconventional approaches are in our music. So it's in our culture. We sing it, we dance to it, but it's really hard for us to be able to articulate that we're a part of it. And we really want to help bridge that gap.
Well, that sounds incredible. I am so excited for this conference coming up in a couple of weeks. And I know there's still a few spots left, but they're selling out very quickly. I will definitely be there both days, all day long. Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me today. And for everyone that's interested, this conference is Friday, October 9th and Saturday, October 10th. And we hope to see you there.
Thank you.